Wow,
Cape Town. Get out. Really? Holy cow. That's pretty awesome. I never, there we go. Very cool. Very cool. That's awesome.
Gus, we're going international with this one, my friend.
Yeah, this is really, I'm impressed. I know LCA has people from all over. Let's jump into it, shall we, Greg?
Cool. Love it, Gus.
Yeah, let's go into it. So the topic today, right, is something, and I was thinking about, what do we want to talk about today? What do we want to add a ton of value? And we talked about hiring a few weeks ago, right? Talked about hiring an ISA, doing a quick recap on that, because one of the key things when we're talking about training is, and this is pretty obvious, but surprise, surprise, if you don't have the right person in the chair, it doesn't really matter what you do for training. I'm just going to put that out there, guys. If you have the wrong person on your team, it doesn't really matter how amazing your training is. They're not going to be good at the job, right? So check out that previous webinar. It's on YouTube, on the LCA channel, Hiring a Great ISA. Check it out. I did it with Yankee. It was an amazing session. Check it out. That's step number one. Get the right person in the chair. Because if you don't have the right person with the right skill set, with the right values, with the right work ethic, then don't worry about the training, because it's not going to matter. It's not going to make a huge difference. You can take a really bad person and make them a mediocre ISA, probably, but we don't want to do that, right? You want to take a great person and make them a beast on the phone. Make them a beast on the phone, right? Really, really important. And I'm going to do a quick recap of that hiring process, which is generate enough qualified candidates, because you do not want to be stuck with only one or two people that you interview, and you got to choose one of the two. That is the wrong philosophy, guys. You have to have enough qualified candidates so that you choose the best, right? You have no idea how many times I talk to clients of ours, people in the industry, and they're telling them, how did you get this ISA that didn't work out? I interviewed 2 people, I interviewed 3 people, and they were the best ones. That's the wrong answer. That's the wrong answer. The key there is generating enough qualified candidates so you can choose the best person, and understanding the limitations of the interview process. The limitations of the interview process. What does that mean? Interviews, in my experience, this is coming from a guy that has a 120-person ISA team, and I hire, I think, between 10 to 15 people every week into my training program. Not everyone gets out of that training program, obviously, but I hire 10 to 15 people every single week. And what I found interviews are really, really good at is determining skill set, right? In our case, you want people that speak really, really good English, because we recruit out of Latin America, so that's key. Their technical skills, and they're just general demeanor. Are they pleasant to work with? They seem like a good teammate. The interviews can be really effective for those kind of skills. The interviews are very ineffective, unfortunately, when we're talking about values, right? Wow. Are you an honest person? Are you a hardworking person? Work ethic. Are you a hardworking person? Do you have grit? The interview is actually really, really poor at that, because those things are kind of easy to fake in an interview sequence. It's a 30-minute conversation. What can you possibly do? So we understand that limitation. We get it. And I honestly, I know it's a limitation and there's issues with that. We embrace it. We go, okay, we're going to interview for what we know we can interview for. Be strict on that. And we're going to get people into training as fast as possible, right? And we want to get them on the phone as fast as possible. Because when you're an ISA and you're on the phone, there is nowhere else to hide, guys. You're either it's going to be sink or swim in a sense, right? And we want to get people on the phone as fast as possible, because that's when we see, do they have the grit? Do they have the values? Do they have the personality for this role? In an interview, 30-minute interview, it's very easy to kind of accelerate another part of your personality, fake it till you make it. It's very easy to do that in a 30-minute interview. It is very hard to do that on the phone all day for several days.
Well said. Well said, Gus.
Right? So that's the preamble to this conversation, because once you've got someone through that process, you've got it in there, then now we're talking about, okay, how do I form them into a great ISA? How do I get them going? How do I turn them into a beast on the phone? This is our number one tip, right? The number one way we create outstanding callers, and we start them off, regardless of the role they're going to be on the team. They're going to call Zillow leads, Facebook leads. they're going to do circle prospecting. We always start everyone with our circle prospecting script. That is it. Number one, we always start all of our new hires with our circle prospecting script. Why is that? Well, very easy, right? It's a very simple script to learn. That's number one. We don't want to overwhelm them with 30 objection handlers, a 3-page for sale by owner script. We don't want to do that, because remember, in this initial training phase, we're looking for values, we're looking for grit, we're looking for the core skills that are going to keep them in the chair, right? And we don't want to overwhelm them with a very complex scenario, like a FISBO, like an Inspire. That's not how we start. Everyone trains on those, but that's not where we start. Number one, we train them on a circle prospecting script. And I give you a quick example of the circle prospecting script. It is, circle prospecting is calling essentially the phone book around a listing, around a closing, around a neighborhood you like. It can be just farming. You're going to call and you're going to say, hey, this is Gus with Keller Williams or EXP or whatever. And, I'm calling around the neighborhood because I desperately need to find some sellers. I've got 10 buyers looking to move into this area. Who do you know that I should know that's thinking of moving right away or in the next 6 months or in the next year? Actually, circle prospecting is usually you're letting them know that, hey, in the next year, because you never know what people are going to do, right? It's a cold call. It's a true cold call. I'm going to do something in the next year. Who should I talk to that's going to help me? Is going to be moving. That's the intro to the script, right? It's really, really simple. And then from there, it goes into qualifying questions and some really important objection handlers. But it's a really simple script to teach, very simple script to teach. That's important because we're going to teach it to them and they're going to get on the phone the next day. That's why that's important. Keep it simple, keep it straightforward, and jump right into it, right? The reason we focus, another reason we focus on circle prospecting to kick things off is because a cold calling is probably the hardest job an ISA does. A can do, right? Hardest possible job.
Well said.
If you can do a few weeks of cold calling, circle prospecting, right? Day in and day out, pound that phone, make those calls, get some conversations going, find a way to do the gymnastics of that conversation, fight those nerves, then we feel very confident that we can move on to like the higher level stuff, which is Facebook leads, Zillow leads, Realtor.com, for sale by owners, expireds, other types of scripts. But folks, it starts with something simple. You have to start with something simple that they can pick up quickly and they can go out and execute with that. Okay, so that's our number one trick that we use. I don't want to call it a trick, it's a strategy. It's a very well thought out strategy. We start all of our ISAs on circle prospecting. Always, 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 because it is the fastest to pick up. And it is one of the hardest, even though the script is deceptively simple, because the challenge is the execution, right?
Right.
The grit and the stamina and the energy and the mental fortitude you need to do it on a daily basis, those are the people we want, right? And that's why we have a 50%, 30 to 50% graduation rate out of those training classes, right? Because this is not an easy job. It is not easy to do, right? So we find that if we start with circle prospecting, we're going to weed out the people that are just not cut out for this job, that are just curious, that think it sounds cool, but when they get down to it, this is not something that they can do, right? So that's what we do. That's something I recommend you try out and implement that as part of your training process. Because if someone can do circle prospecting day in and day out, get those conversations going, and at the end of 2 weeks, maybe up to 4 weeks, they're generating 1, maybe 2 qualified seller leads a day. That's a good person. That's when you can move on. We can go to the next level, right? Really, really important. So the next thing I want to talk about, right? So number one, circle prospect, start with it, focus on it. It's hard. It's supposed to be hard. That's what we want to do. The next thing we want to do. So this is super key, right? And I'm going to go into a little bit of detail of this because this is, I want to make sure the point comes across.
Yeah.
You need to implement something that we call the feedback loop, right? The feedback loop. So if you want to get ISAs that are trained up quickly and effectively, you need to implement what we call, it's a really simple concept. It's called the feedback loop. What I see too many times is that you bring ISAs in, you're doing role play all the time. Role play, you know, learn the script, write it down. We're focusing on the script, focusing on the script. And we're correcting towards the script. We're correcting during role play. Not that that's not effective. I mean, that can work, right? I'm not saying that's not useful. I'm saying it just takes too long and it is not the best way people learn. Some people do not learn from like a classroom repetition type of setting, right? That's just not how a lot of people learn. And remember, in this role, ISA really skews towards younger folks, right? This is an entry-level role for a lot of teams. So this is going to skew towards younger people. Of younger folks, right? A lot of them, they learn by doing, is what we found, right? Doing, executing, getting out there. That's kind of the personality profile you want. People that are executing, right? That have a tendency towards action. That is a good fit for this role. You want to get them on the phone and you want to use those phone calls as the feedback, as the training, as the how they're going to get them to improve.
Gotcha.
You know, you make the call, you have to find a way to record these calls, and hopefully that's allowed where you are. If not, then you're going to have to do live monitoring, which is a lot harder. But it is. I talked about some of my clients and some of my you know, industry friends in Canada. Canadians do this, guys. In most parts of Canada, you cannot record calls. Well, you got to get on the phone and listen to them, right? The same concept applies. It's the exact same thing. Recording just makes it easier, right? In the U.S., whether you're in a one-party consent state, two-party consent state, ask your managing broker, figure it out, right? But the concept is the same. It doesn't matter. You want to listen to them executing the script, right? You want to observe them executing the script. What are they saying? Are they getting nervous? Are they getting tongue-tied? Are they handling the objections? Do they sound pleasant? Do they sound like someone you want to have a conversation with? All of these factors go into it. You observe the call. You got to make some notes. Okay, you did this well. This could have gone better. Okay, you want to change this. Okay, that. And at the beginning, there's a lot of you got to do this better, right? That's the majority of the feedback. That's the way everyone starts. But you want to bring the ISA in with you, and you want to listen to the call with them, right? You want to listen to the call with them as you're giving them the feedback. This is a really simple concept, but we call it the feedback loop. ISA executes the call. You listen to the call, however, which way you can. You make some notes and you listen to it together and you give them the feedback. The loop has been closed. ISA executes, you listen, you provide feedback. ISA executes, you listen, you provide feedback. Guys, this is the first 30 days of the role. And as boring as that sounds, as repetitive as that sounds, this is where the magic happens. And I call it magic to make it interesting for you because it is really boring. It's very repetitive. It is. It's like, you know, you guys were talking earlier about, you know, going to the gym, right?
Yeah.
Bro, the gym is sitting down and doing the same thing 12 times in a row for 3 sets for a couple hours, right? That's where the muscles come from. That's where the stamina comes from. That's where like the physical conditioning comes from. It is a grind, brother. I mean, there's no if and or buts about it, right? Yeah, you can put on your headphones and listen to music and get pumped up. There's a part of it, but you just have to power through it and work through it. And if you want to create an absolute beast on the phone, you gotta give them daily feedback on their call. There is no other way that we have found to rapidly, quickly train up an ISA to be really effective on the phone. There is no other way. This feedback loop happening on a daily basis, And that is unbelievably key. We call it, it's like a virtuous cycle, the feedback loop. ISA executes call, you observe call, you make notes on that feedback, and you provide it to the ISA as they're listening to what they did, guys. It's very effective. They quickly understand, oh, I see what's the problem. I hear it. I hear the issue. I get it. I understand. There is no explaining to them, reading a book, looking up the script. None of that, guys. Listen to what you're saying. That you did good. That you did poorly. Try again. So on and so forth, right? It is the best way. But here's a caveat to that, right? There are some folks that are going to keep making the same mistakes over and over again, right?
Sure.
They are not going to be able to execute on that feedback, that actionable, very concise feedback. Unfortunately, those are the folks that are not going to be coachable, are not going to be learning based, and are not going to be able to execute this job at the highest level. Those are the folks you can't have on your team, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the folks you can't have. But again, they are going to start terrible. And the only thing that I ask of new ISAs in our team is that they show improvement from week to week, right? They're not going to set a bunch of appointments the first. This is circle prospecting. They're not going to set any appointments the first week, right? So what we want to have is want them to have conversations, right? We want to hold people's attention to have a conversation. And then the next week, I want you to get into some of those qualifying questions, right? And then by the third week, I want you handling some of those objections. I want you to qualify people. By the fourth week, they should be getting conversions already, right? So you want to see a progression. And some people are going to get it within 24 hours. Great. Some people are going to take the month to get it and pick up on it. But the key thing, right, is they want to see improvement week over week. You don't want them committing the same mistakes over and over and over again, right? Within 2 weeks, we know if someone's going to graduate out of a training program or not. Within 2 weeks, I would challenge people hiring an ISA to hold them to that standard. You've got 2 weeks, right? To show me that you're coachable, that you can get it. And again, there's more goes into it. It's not just the call review, the feedback loop, getting in there on time, doing the homework, learning the script, learning the objection, picking up on things. Those are super key. And those manifest themselves very quickly, in my experience, right? Yep. People either have that and they're serious about this job or they're not, right? So, but that's not, I mean, I'm being super transparent and honest with you guys. 50% are just not going to make it, right? And they interview great, they sound great, they've got all the, the soft skills, they seem to be great at it, and they could be great on the phone, but they don't have the drive to do it. They don't have the discipline to do it. And they're not, and a key thing, they're not coachable. They're not coachable. You can have the best sounding person on the phone ever, and they've got a bubbly personality, and they sound amazing, and it's the best thing ever. But if they can't be coached, then for us, that's a hard no. That's a hard no. And this happens a lot when we recruit people from all over, right? So we get people with call center experience, right? If you wanna make my trainers mad, ask them what they think about people with call center experience.
Oh, there we go.
I know. Unfortunately, a lot of times, and this happens in real estate. They're experienced, but they might have the wrong experience, right? Right. They have skills. They might have habits. They might have the wrong habits. And that unfortunately happens more often than not. When we get someone with industry experience, it's not the experience we want, unfortunately. More often, I have to say, more often than not, when someone comes in as an experienced telemarketer, an experienced ISA, an experienced real estate person, they don't have the experience that we want. And they're not willing to learn the new one. So immediately, someone has amazing skills, but they're not coachable, that's a hard no for us. It's a hard no. We can't, that person's not going to become a beast on the phone. They're not going to be able to gain the skills that they need. Because us, at PowerISA, we have a world-class team. If you don't want to learn what we can teach you, then if you're doing your own thing, then keep doing your own thing. We want you to join our company because we know how to form people at the highest level, right? And if you cannot meet that standard, you cannot have young. Even if the great experience, they sound great on the phone, we know that is a much better indicator of success is, are you coachable, period, right? Whether you're a 10-year veteran or a brand new person in the industry, are you coachable or not? Because if you're coachable, we can teach you some good stuff. And you execute what we teach you, you're going to be good. You're going to get good at it, right? And I will always bet on a hard worker, motivated, got their head in the right place, than someone with all the talent in the world, oozing talent, oozing calling talent, oozing this. Like, it's amazing, it's great. It's like another analogy, like in sports, right? This is like a meme in the sports world. The unbelievably talented athlete, gifted, everything. They got the pedigree, they have the look, they got everything. But if they're not putting in the work, it's going to be really hard for them to succeed, right? You got to put in the work. You got to be coachable. You got to learn those new skills. And you got to be, it's a combination of humility, right? Being able to learn new things and pick them up and get suggestions and take that feedback and just drive. If you want to succeed, you're going to take all the help you can get. It's a difficult job, guys. So you want someone that's coachable and can take that and can execute that at the highest level. unbelievably important. Unbelievably important.
Yeah,
So,
Gus, when you mentioned that though, I mean, it's hopefully it's resonating with everybody who's tuning in right now. And you know, the adage of talent is overrated is a true statement. It's practice and repetition, as you mentioned, and proper leadership and training. But to your earlier point, and I did put 2 links in the chat for everybody who's tuning in, because you did an incredible webinar 2 weeks ago, the 3 steps to hire a world-class ISA. And then you and I last month were on a call, the daily duties of an ISA step-by-step. So those links are in the chat. So I recommend everybody watching those. Gus drops so much information. It's not even funny. He's sharing the whole
really fast. And I get all the feedback. Gus, you talk too fast. When I'm passionate and excited, I talk really fast. So I'm trying to. This is me trying to slow it down. I understand. So watch it. Like you do like half speed when you're on YouTube. I think you can be faster. You can slower when you're on YouTube. And you probably want to listen to Gus at 3/4 of regular speed.
I love Gus at normal speed anytime I can get this, man. But it's Gus, the passion and the understanding and the knowledge is incredible. I know everybody absolutely loves it. So no worries there. But didn't mean to interrupt you. Just wanted to mention that it is in the chat, and I highly recommend watching all of that information if you haven't caught it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you know, and I love talking about these things, but that's a great progression, actually. You know, Greg. It's like a master class, right? Module 1. I would start honestly with the hiring process. That's how you get great people in, the training process. And I think then would be like our conversation, which was, okay, what do they do on a daily basis to make them, because you're assuming they've been hired, they've been trained up, and that part of it. We got to put that playlist together on the LCA channel. Probably put these in the right order, right?
Gus,
the masterclass, right?
Yes, that is a masterclass amongst masterclass. Anybody who's looking at all, you're the man to go to, and you laid it out. I mean, you laid it out. But we're still going because we're talking about, you know, really, you know, how to train that ISA once you hire them. And then once, I guess, as you're training them, you know, then they go to their daily duties, but you're turning them into absolute beasts on the phone, Gus. So let's keep going. You're on a roll.
100%. Great. So kind of quick recap. It's that hiring process. It's that circle prospecting strip to kind of weed out you want to find the best and strongest and the most talented. That feedback loop, unbelievably important. That virtuous cycle, that feedback loop. Here's the next thing that we use to make them an unbelievable beast on the phone. And this is what I'm going to admit, we have a huge advantage in. I'm not going to lie, right? Anyone that has an existing ISA team is going to have a huge advantage in this step. So you know, take it with a grain of salt, but this is something that we use in every single one of our hires. They're going to shadow another ISA. You're going to put them next, well, you know, virtually now, they're in like a Zoom meeting, right? Which is kind of weird. People used to literally, like, you'd have some of our best ISAs with 3 people sitting behind them. You know, having some of those like you know how you can do headphones to kind of share the same. You know, they would take turns listening in on the calls that they would have, right? So that was then, right? Now that we are a 100% virtual team, we have 120 people working virtually, by the way, on the same team. It is actually unbelievably easy to do now because Zoom lets you like share the sound on your machine. So you can have some of our top ISAs have a dozen people listening to them, right? Because they're shadowing what they do. Because folks, yes, there's a script. Yes, there's a process document. Yes, there's all these things. But folks, trust me when I tell you, it is a lot of these intangible things that can really make a difference, right? Like, you know, some ISAs have not written down every single objection handler they can use, right? So we want to capture that process, that behavior, that tonality. It's not just about listening to great calls. I mean, you can do that. That works too. So that's probably a great workaround for folks that don't have the ability to shadow an ISA. Listening to great calls from an ISA is probably the next best thing. We see a lot of value in having them shadow the person, right? During a full day, I think we do several days of shadowing during the training process, and we want them to see them in action. How do they use the dialer? How do they use the CRM? How do those conversations go, right? What do they sound like? And they can ask questions and they can have a conversation. I mean, not like all day, but they have like Q&As with them on how they handle calls, on their knowledge. The really good ISAs they've got domain knowledge now. They ask them about terminology, about knowledge. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And we want to build that bond. We want to build that relationship because in our company, in our team, all of our senior, more experienced ISAs, and even when they're on other positions, by the way, so we have a big enough team where we have ISAs doing other roles now. like trainers and supervisors and salespeople and other things, they're still expected to go and train new people. That's just part of the culture that we've built, right? The person that's made it to the top, made it there. The very senior people made it there because I took them there. Well, then now I have to take the next person up, right? It's part of their responsibility. So having a culture like that helps because it's the expectation. And if you don't have that yet and your team is very small, well, congratulations, you can build that now, right? You can start from there. But shadowing and having the senior people teach the more junior people is another unbelievably effective way that we use to form. Because how do you want to get a beast on the phone? Have them watch another beast on the phone is a great way to kind of do it, kind of short circuit your way into getting that result. Unbelievably valuable. I will say this. There are some people that are naturally good at this, right? Providing feedback, teaching others. I mean, that's just the thing. I have had some of our best performers. We don't have people shadow them because they're not good with other people. I mean, they're just not good at teaching other people, right?
Right.
It's a little bit of a caveat that I want to put in there. Maybe in those cases, listening to the calls is kind of good enough. But if you're fortunate enough to have someone that can do that shadowing, that can be kind of that kind of a teacher at heart, that is going to make the time and do it, that's a great advantage, right? And that's the people we want to be shadowed, the ones that are going to take the time and do it. And sometimes you have to show them what you want, right? Show them what it looks like to teach other people stuff. Show them what it looks like to be a helpful kind of a senior employee, because that's what leadership is, right? It's not just about being a great performer. It's not just about hitting your numbers, making a ton of money, getting the promotions. That's being a great performer, a great individual, and you can be an individual contributor, individual performer, and be great. And in our company, and I recommend everyone do this, you have a growth path that isn't management, right? Which means it might mean like a higher salary or a promotion or a title change or more responsibility, whatever it is. But if you're not good with people, you don't want to put them in a leadership role, right?
Right.
Leadership, another way to say leadership is being able to lead other people to do things, right? To accomplish common goals. And if you're not good with people, man, that's tough to do. It's a really difficult challenge, right? So in this process of shadowing, you're going to be surprised. You're going to find those people, going to find that leadership, those kind of natural leaders that have that skill set to lead others, to teach others. And that's a great byproduct of this process. But kind of bringing it back to the training part, shadowing, right? Find a way that they can shadow a really good ISA. And if you don't have that in your team, in your brokerage, in your office, in your area, then at the very least, find a way to have them listen to those calls. What do calls from really good ISAs sound like? What does a great ISA sound like? And the closer you can get to that, I think the better. And we're not talking about like shadowing for like days and days and days and weeks and months. I mean, that's not it. Part of the process is kind of to show them the simplicity of it. Sometimes people think that ISAs are like, unbelievable script masters and they run circles around people. I mean, yes, there's people like that, guys. But to be successful in this role, sometimes people have to just lose the fear and the mystique of, man, I mean, this guy just sounds really natural on the phone. Holy cow, this guy's just being straightforward with people, and they put in the work, right? They put in the work. They put in the calls. They talk to enough people to get those conversions. We really want ISAs to see that a huge part of this job is putting in the work. A huge part of this job is just getting in there, getting your calls in, and making those things happen, right? So all of those things we found that a really effective way for them to pick up on really good skill sets, really good work ethic, really good examples is through the shadowing process. So, you want to make beasts on the phone, get them in front of other beasts on the phone. And I think that really, really good things are going to happen, guys. Really, really good things are going to happen.
And Gus, to that point, we've got a couple questions here that are on the vein of where you're going here. So
go.
The first question is, where do you find those calls or the perfect call? So you had kind of already mentioned that you should be shadowing a top ISA or somebody in your office, your brokerage. Any deeper answer to that question?
So where can you? Okay, so I put this out there, so I'm gonna own this, take responsibility. So drop your email, and I will send you some calls. Okay. Ooh. So anyone listening to this right now, and if you're listening to this 6 months later, find PowerISA.com, and reach out to us. I have all the contact information. Look for me on Facebook. I'm on LCA. Look for me at Tag Me, Gustavo, and I will send you the recordings that you need, whether that's circle prospecting, Facebook, Fizzbo expired. I put that out there. I let the genie out of the bottle. Now I'm going, right? So if you don't have any other way to find solid recordings to train yourself, to train your ISA, to train your ISA team, well, now I got to provide them for you, right? So I'm like, that's a great idea. Well, I got to have a way to get those, right? Otherwise, it's really, really tough. A way to get that, an alternative method, if you don't want to message Gustavo, is looking for ISAs in your same team, in your same brokerage, in your same area, right? There's always going to be someone that they say, oh, wow, ISA kind of walks on water, building a relationship that way. But the shortcut is to message Gustavo, and I will send that to you. So I'm owning it. I'll do it. I'll commit to it if you need that.
Gus, the emails are flying in, by the way, just so you know. So the list is piling up.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so Jake, can we save those? Can you help me out with that, Jake?
I believe so. Let me talk to Sandra though.
Okay, great. Just make sure. Okay. So we make sure we don't end the meeting before we figure that out.
They're coming in.
Go away.
It's taking over the feed, Gus. It's taking over.
100%. So absolutely. Wow, it's pretty awesome. For sure.
To the other question. So what does an ISA do, and how much to pay her or him? I put the link in the daily duties.
So yeah.
So I already put that link. I messaged, but what do you think about that? I guess we have the daily duties so that they can go back and watch that, but maybe payment if they're looking to hire somebody.
So the compensation topic is a really, really good one. And Greg, I think we found our topic for the next webinar.
I love that.
To compensate a great ISA, because that deserves its own talk. But I'm going to give the 5-minute answer because we have about 5-10 minutes left, right? So,
okay.
It's a really simple way. Anytime you have, so ISA tends to be a salaried role, or at least a salary plus commission role in most cases. That's how we do it. That's how the majority of teams do it. Yes, you can find commission only ISAs. They are really hard to find, and it can be a little bit of a hit or miss effort. So we always recommend having some kind of base salary. Base salaries for US-based ISAs are going to range from the low end, $10 to $15 an hour in most markets, and they're going to go to the high end of $20 to $30 an hour in the more expensive markets. I'm talking about California, New York, the high cost of living areas. And I know lots of, even in Florida, ISAs that have $25 base salary, right? That's a pretty decent base salary for real estate. Yeah. But it's going to be in that range. In the low end, so find what market you're in. And a way to do this, a really easy way to do this is to search for a job listing in your market, right? Who's hiring an ISA right now? How much are they offering? Really simple way to do that, and do a quick comparison. Where you at? In my market, Seattle, it was challenging because I was competing for ISA talent with Amazon. It was Redfin, Zillow. And there's a lot of big real estate tech companies that wanted the same talent pool that I wanted, and their base pay was in the $30 range per hour, right? So understand your market and where you need to be. So that is kind of the easy way to do it, and you have to have a percentage of that is at risk compensation, which means bonuses. That if they make the performance goals, they get that bonus, and if they don't get it, right? And that is bonuses are a whole other can of worms. But my main recommendation, if you're going to bonus on closing, understand there's some limitations to that. You have to be licensed, etc. Understand that. And my key thing when we talk about bonuses is make sure you're bonusing on activities that the ISA controls, right? I see a big, and yes, you should bonus on closings, and a percentage should come from that, no doubt, because that's where the money is. But a closing can be 3 to 6 months away for an ISA, a brand new ISA. Let's just be honest with that. It can be 6 months away, that first commission check. But they can be doing good activities before then. So in the next webinar, I'll go into a little bit more detail of that. But you need to bonus on activities that the ISA can control and that are leading indicators to revenue coming down the stream, right? That is in a nutshell, that's going to be a whole hour we're going to talk about next time. But that's important. But base salary, 15 to 25 is going to be where most people are at. Look at your area, and you've got to make a chunk of that compensation is going to be bonus based. So definitely understand that. That is within the US. Outside the US, you've got everything from Filipino virtual assistants, it can be like at $2 an hour.
Mhm.
Latin America is always going to be a little more expensive, maybe $4 to $6 an hour. You know, and then virtual within the U.S. It can go anywhere from like also $10 an hour on the low end to $20, $25 an hour on the high end. So
Okay.
it kind of depends where you recruit, but it is that varying. It starts at $2 an hour. Latin America is going to be 4 to 6, and then the U.S. is going to be at least double that. So that's kind of overall kind of the worldwide, because we can recruit internationally now. Guys, the genie's out of the bottle. Everyone can work remotely. A lot of teams are still working remotely in some of these areas. So yes, it's wide open for that to happen, right? So definitely, absolutely look for that. And again, there's also companies like PowerISA. You know,
that's right.
People coming in, you know, and we have a special offer for folks. If you want help with this process, if you want to hire one of our ISAs, you have the information there. If you want to build your own team and you just want us to teach you and coach you how to do it, we have that option as well. If you want to roll your own, do your own thing, we have a way to help you out with that as well. So no worries with that. So, you know, if you're interested in help from PowerISA, reach out to us, you know, and make sure we have to find a way to collect all these emails, because we're going to send them some great call recordings. We're going to have, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set up a landing page that has like a little bit of everything. Because I'm not going to ask, you know, 40, we have like 50 people here, which call they want. I'm going to get everything, like a little mix of everything. And if that doesn't meet your need, then we can talk, right? Because I think 90% of people are going to be good with that. I'll set that up and I'll email it to everyone that was nice enough to drop their email today. And I will send out 100% committing, you know, Scout's honor. You know, we'll definitely make sure we send everybody that. And if you need something very specific, let us know. And I'm going to send you the best that we have kind of across the board. If you need more than that, definitely let me know, folks.
And you nailed that question, Gus. Thanks so much for answering that. That we did get another one coming in along that same pathway too. You might have already partially answered it, but once you have a great ISA, how do you recommend keeping them motivated? Is it bonuses? Is it, you know, so what are your thoughts in the motivation?
That's another great topic for like another hour-long talk. But I'm going to give you again the summarized answer to that.
Yeah.
So there's in my opinion, there's two things that are going to keep someone in the chair. And I want to brag about something, Greg.
Yeah.
So ISA is a high rotation position. I mean, it's just kind of a telemarketing. It's kind of call center work. That it tends to be a very high rotation position. And we have rotation of ISAs too. It happens. Yeah. But I'm very proud to say that our senior ISAs and our staff, I think we've lost, and I have a staff of about 25 people now. It's not a small group, right? Wow. So almost 30 people actually on staff and senior ISAs. I think I've lost maybe one person in the last 12 months in that group.
Wow, Gus.
One person, and they had to move to another part of Mexico that didn't have really good internet access. I mean, literally, he would have worked for us if he could get online in the area that they were in. So retention is a big deal. It is the biggest source of expense for a team. Rotation of high impact positions can bankrupt you as a business owner. There's two things that are going to be key. Number one is you have to be competitive on compensation. You don't have to pay the most, but you can't pay the least either, right? So you have to be in the ballpark. You have to be competitive with your compensation. Number one, that's key. No matter how awesome your team is, if you're not really in the right ballpark for people are going to look for their needs. You're going to look out for their family, and you don't want to put in a position where it's their family or you, right? That's just the wrong way to be as a business owner. So be competitive, be in the right place on compensation wise. Number one, but you don't have to be at the top. I am not at the top of ISA companies. In Mexico, I'm not at the top as the highest salaries we do, but we have the best company culture by far.
Okay.
But we are hands and knees and shoulders above the rest when it comes to the culture that we built. So much so that most of my referrals that I get for hires, because we ask everyone for referrals to get new ISAs. People are going to send their brothers, their sisters, their uncles, their cousins, because and again, that for me is a big deal, right? When someone's willing to recommend their brother or their sister to join them in the company, right? Because they feel that they're going to be taken care of. It's going to be a great place to work. So the answer is those two things. in a nutshell. And I love to expand on this, like get specific about it. Okay, how do you create great compensation? How do you build a great team culture? That's it's a more detailed answer, but we'll put it on the list. We'll put it on the list because we're coming up towards the end here on the webinar. So if you haven't dropped your email, make sure you drop it in so Jake can take it down. Make sure we don't lose that. And we'll get that ready for you folks. So, I mean, Perfect. Greg, I think we're pretty much towards the end here. I want to thank everybody. Hopefully it's been value packed and it's been really, really helpful for you guys.
Oh, incredible. As always, Gus. And again, just the passion and knowledge that comes out of you is inspiring. So hopefully everybody understands that, Gus is a true practitioner and he does this every single day and works with the best and brightest minds in the real estate world. And I'm just encouraged to check out PowerISA and really see what they have to bring to the table, no matter what your needs are as you're growing and scaling your real estate business, that way. So yeah, Gus, it's an honor and a pleasure, my friend. Always a blast hanging out with you. I can't wait for the next one for sure.
Thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, LCA. We'll see everybody soon. Take care.